Now at 6 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, more information coming out regarding the chemical spill at the Port of Victoria, including a timeline of events.
Jeannie Morrison endorses former Victoria Mayor Jeff Bouknight for her state representative District 30 seat.
And we take a deeper dive into the mayoral candidates' personalities beyond their policy platforms as the race for Victoria Mayor continues.
Well, the stormy weather is beginning to pull out of the area. You can see how it's down along the coast and up toward the Houston area. Wharton County still under a tornado watch. That's a watch, but so far so good, and most of the weather will be pulling out tonight. Tomorrow, cooler and quite windy. We'll be talking more about that coming up.
It is National Championship Day between the two best teams in the country. Hear from them in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 6. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker.
And I'm Karina Garcia. This is an alert. Let's take a look at your forecast with Chief Meteorologist Mac Bettis.
Well, it was rather interesting this afternoon, a little scary there when the squall lines were coming through, but at this hour, most of the activity is now down along the coast. Here's the Victoria, as you see right about there. What happens is that we expected this front, and what happened ahead of it in the warm, humid air, because we got up to 77, is that we kicked off this line of storms and they rolled right across the crossroads. Heaviest activity, probably Gonzales over to Hallettsville, where they did get hail, some wind damage, and of course the temperature dropped from 77 to 55 in about 10 minutes. Most of that activity now beginning to move offshore. Now we're waiting for the front and the gusty north winds to roll in, and very dry weather for tomorrow. All that coming up in just a moment. Stay tuned.
Mac, thank you. We begin with the foul odor in Victoria County that made its way down into Corpus Christi. Several residents we spoke to were upset with the lack of communication and transparency, but we are now able to see a timeline of events leading up to last week's chemical spill at the Port of Victoria. This past Wednesday night into Thursday morning, Victoria emergency management officials began to receive calls regarding a foul odor around the southwestern region of Victoria County, but it was through an anonymous call on Thursday evening that the Victoria Office of Emergency Management received information related to the accidental release of crude oil at Shamrock Products LLC. 911 also received an anonymous call regarding the spill.
Now here's where the line of communication breaks. The Texas Commission on Environmental Quality was already investigating the spill at Shamrock midday Thursday. They did not inform the Victoria Office of Emergency Management of the investigation or their findings until Friday morning. With the source of the odor now found, a full investigation and cleanup began, but Victoria Emergency Management was not initially included in the cleanup.
Unfortunately for us in Victoria Emergency Management, we were not notified of that. Even though we are the ones who got them into the front gate, we're able to get them there to investigate this spill at Shamrock's products. They did not notify us until Friday morning.
We have reached out to the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality and have not heard a response as of yet. McBrayer also says the spill site as of this afternoon is still in progress, but it has largely been completed.
A man who shot Jackson County Sheriff's deputies has been discharged from the hospital and booked into the Jackson County Jail. The Jackson County Herald Tribune reports 32-year-old Martin Lugo Jr. of Vanderbilt was taken into custody on December 29th. When deputies made contact, he opened fire and deputies wounded him twice. Lugo is charged with attempted capital murder of a peace officer with a $2 million bond. He is also being held on 2 other charges. Lugo is not eligible for release. 22-year-old Michael Herrera is in the DeWitt County Jail facing 4 charges. Cuero police arrested Herrera on a charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Herrera is in jail on 4 total charges in lieu of $112,000 bond. An Ocampo man now faces up to 20 years in prison for a reported bar scuffle about 18 months ago in Wharton County. The Ocampo Leader News reports a grand jury indicted 43-year-old Blair Cooey Jr. on an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon charge. Cooey's accused of using a knife to threaten a Glen Flora bar worker on June 9, 2022. 2 days later, he was found shot 2 times in the chest outside a home. The Texas Rangers then investigated a reported disturbance there.
A Wharton man is in custody facing a charge from Harris County. 32-year-old Freddie Anderson is charged with aggravated assault causing serious bodily injury. Anderson is in the Wharton County Jail in lieu of $50,000 bond. Now, Victoria police took a man into custody after a chase. They first made contact with 31-year-old Jesus Benavides in the 1000 block of Brazos Street after a report of a disturbance. Benavides then fled in a Ford F-150 until he crashed in the 100 block of Pleasant Green. Benavides is charged with evading with a previous conviction. He is in the Victoria County Jail in lieu of $40,000 bond. He is also charged with violation of parole. No bond on that charge. Longtime state representative Jeannie Morrison today endorsed Jeff Bouknight in his campaign for Texas House District 30. Bouknight is running to succeed Morrison, who is retiring from the Texas legislature after representing that district for 13 consecutive terms. Bouknight is a former Victoria mayor and city council member. He is running for state representative District 30 in the Republican primary against Brett Baldwin, Vanessa Hicks Callaway, and A.J. Louderback.
In a statement, Representative Morrison said, quote, Jeff Bouknight is a values-driven conservative leader with a proven track record of delivering results. Jeff will do whatever it takes to secure our southern border, protect our Second Amendment rights, and defend our rural Texas values. Jeff Bouknight is a trusted conservative leader, and I am proud to endorse him to be our next state representative, unquote. The Republican primary is on March 5th.
Leading us to your viewer poll this evening, the question is, does Jeannie Morrison's endorsement affect your vote for Texas House District 30, yes or no? We take a look at our results and it looks like 8% say yes and 92% stand at no. We want to keep on hearing your opinion. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part, and we're going to have an update on 25 News Now at 10. Now, we recently had all of the mayoral candidates live on 25 News Now at 5 and on Community Crossroads to hear their various platforms. Now we're giving you a chance to learn more about their character and personality. We asked all of the mayoral candidates the same 4 questions. Our first question was for them to show us an important item in their home or office.
Number 2, talk to me about your dream job when you were a child. Number 3, if you're elected mayor, what is your greatest fear? And finally, what is your favorite quote and why?
This is my first book I did, Your Guide to All Things Catacorn. And this is really important because my daughter Presley was diagnosed with autism, and she inspired me to do this book to give back to others. And that's my son and her. This book is so important to me because what it did is it took an idea out of my head and made it come to life. And it shows that if you dream it, you can do it. My dream job as a kid was to be an author, an astronaut, and someone that can make a living by helping other people have awesome lives. And what's super cool is I do all that. And also music, I wanted to perform. So that's why my life, when you look at it, I do all these different things, but they make sense. And little me is like, ah. My biggest fear if elected as mayor is school shootings. I have children that attend the schools here, and that is a huge problem across the nation. And it's something that we face that we need to come up with solutions with. We need to work harder on, but it is something that terrifies me. I think that, you know, it's one of those things I've lost sleep at night over thinking about. My favorite quote is from Albert Einstein. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I believe that is a lot of what I'm running my campaign on, is that we can't keep saying we're running for lower taxes, all of these different things that we know the community is concerned about, but then we're not coming up with lasting solutions.
And also on the ballot is Josephine Solis, Duane Crocker, Peter Brown, Jacob Salceda, and Robert Bob Constantine. Early voting starts January 17th and runs through January 30th. Join us Saturday, February 3rd for complete coverage of the special mayoral election.
Palacios Marine Agriculture Research plans to distribute 15 billion oysters to the Texas coast by 2025. KIII reports the organization was established by the Ed Rachel Foundation, and they are dedicated to restoring oysters on the Texas coast. The research center says oysters improve the health and productivity of our bays and estuaries. Last year, the Ed Rachel Foundation, as you may remember, bought the Luther Hotel in Palacios.
Officials say multiple people were injured after a suspected gas leak and explosion in Fort Worth Monday. It happened at a downtown hotel. Take a look at the scene from above. Fire crews and police responded to the scene and asked the public to avoid the area. No, the deaths were immediately reported due to the explosion. The county judge said on Facebook that downtown county buildings were closed early out of an abundance of caution.
A public viewing was held today for the late Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson at the Hall of State in Dallas's Fair Park. She went on to become the first black woman to chair the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology in her long career in the Congress and before that in the State House. And she also led the Congressional Black Caucus. This is the beginning of 3 days of services and events honoring Johnson's life. She died on New Year's Eve at the age of 89. The White House announced that President Biden will be traveling to Dallas for Johnson's memorial. Johnson's funeral will be held Tuesday morning. The former Congresswoman will be buried at the Texas State Cemetery in Austin.
State Senator Roland Gutierrez kicked off his U.S. Senate campaign Sunday. The Democrat is challenging incumbent Republican Senator Ted Cruz. Gutierrez's first campaign stop began in Nueces County in the southeastern part of the Texas state. He represents towns and cities that include Uvalde, the site of a mass shooting in 2022 where a gunman shot and killed 19 children and 2 adults. Gutierrez says part of the reason he's running is because of what happened in Uvalde.
People along the border and everywhere else and here in Nueces County need to understand that it's not on that watch. We need to change where we're going, and we need to change the pattern of what's happening in this country, and it starts now.
Gutierrez supports gun control and says if elected, he will support a woman's right to choose and Medicare for all.
Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell so you can see Crossroads Today on YouTube. And stay with us. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and other senior officials travel to the border. Coming up on 25 News now at 6, how limited resources are impacting border security.
Also ahead, some Houston residents say they have not received relief funds from Hurricane Harvey. The details this evening.
More than 6 years after Hurricane Harvey slammed the Texas coast, the city of Houston has yet to allocate $200 million in federal relief funds to victims. The Texas Tribune reports in a letter to new Houston Mayor John Whitmire, General Land Office Commissioner Dawn Buckingham offered her office's staff to help Whitmire distribute the funding. The GLO says the city must take the remaining $200 million by February 2025, when the city's contract with the GLO expires. The federal judge overseeing the election subversion case against former President Trump in Washington, D.C. was the victim of a swatting call on her home Sunday. Swatting is when someone calls authorities to lure them to a location under the false pretense that a crime has been committed. The caller said he had shot his girlfriend and would kill himself. The address he gave was federal judge Tanya Chutkan's home. Chutkan has faced threats before. Just this summer, a Texas woman was arrested and charged for reportedly threatening in a voicemail to kill the judge if Trump does not get elected this year.
Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and other senior officials traveled to Eagle Pass today for an operational visit regarding ongoing southwest border enforcement efforts.
U.S. Border Patrol has apprehended about 3,200 migrants per day over the past week. That's down from the nearly 11,000 in a single day last month.
In Eagle Pass, Texas, a southern border town at the center of the migrant crisis, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas meeting with border agents and local administrators for a review of their enforcement operations.
Our immigration system is outdated and broken and has been in need of reform for literally decades.
The secretary's visit coming just a week after House Speaker Mike Johnson and 64 Republicans toured the area, putting election year pressure on President Biden and Democrats for tougher border restrictions. ABC's Matt Rivers is there in Eagle Pass.
Of duty on the part of Mayorkas. He's coming down here to say, no, we are managing this issue as best as we can, given the tools, the limited tools and the limited resources that Congress is giving them.
The Biden administration recently putting forth a budget request that includes nearly $14 billion for the border, as well as aid for Israel, Taiwan, and Ukraine. Items include money for more border agents and immigration judges. Some Republicans don't think the measures go far enough and demand more security changes.
If President Biden wants a supplemental spending bill focused on national security, it better begin by defending America's national security. It begins right here on our southern border.
Migrant encounters at the southern border have dropped in recent weeks after Mexico ramped up enforcement, according to U.S. authorities, allowing some ports of entry to reopen. The House Homeland Security Committee is expected to hold its first hearing on Wednesday in its effort to impeach Secretary Mayorkas for his handling of the border. Now, a spokesperson for Mayorkas is calling this effort a baseless political exercise. Tim Pulliam, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Starting Tuesday, Main Street will close between Goodwin Avenue and Constitution Street for 5 weeks and between Constitution Street and Santa Rosa Street for 4 weeks. The closure between Goodwin and Constitution is for utility construction and paving as part of the De Leon Plaza expansion project. The closure between Constitution and Santa Rosa is for a private roof replacement project at a building in the 100 block of South Main Street.
Well, good evening, everyone. We had a little activity, a little excitement there in the afternoon. All of that is now gone away. The clouds are thick, but we are down to 55 degrees. I mean, we got up to 77. In about 10 minutes, the temperature dropped into the 50s, so it was a little chilly right there after the stormy weather came by. We had actually a high of 78 degrees today. The stormy weather is now up there toward Brazoria County and Galveston, so we're going to be in the clear. Now we're waiting for the gusty north winds to kick in. We'll talk about that and take a look at the rest of the week coming up in just a moment. Yes, it was a little scary when that big squall line came through and the skies got dark and, you know, we got it got our attention. Right now, the winds are now out of the northwest and they're going to get even stronger when the dry air rolls in. We're still sort of waiting for the colder air to roll in, but it's not so much colder, it's drier, and that's a big difference. There's a storm line as it came through the area. It popped up around 2 o'clock out there out of San Antonio and then came across. It looks like Gonzales all the way to Hallettsville got the most of the damage. There's power lines down. There's some 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts. There was some hail reported. Of Of course, the system came through the city, only dropped 2,700s out at the airport, so it was not even a big rain event as far as we're concerned. Of course, the skies look scary and the winds were rather strong, and they've settled down now, right now, but everything is right along the immediate coastline. Even Palacios is beginning to clear up. Here's the storm center, and this is the one that's going to be going this way. It's going to be a big snowmaker for much of Central Plains and the Ohio Valley. As far as we're concerned, we're going to pick up a north wind behind it. It's going to be breezy and drier for about a day or so. There you see the stormy weather just beginning to leave the Palacios area. It's still heavy in the Brazoria County, but notice that even Wharton is out of that tornado watch. Remember, tornado watch is situation interesting, got to be careful. Tornado warning is when there's one actually confirmed on the ground. So that is over with right about now, and all that activity now headed toward Galveston. So drying weather for the next day or so, and in the next couple of days, what we've got to do is watch the roller coaster of temperatures. I mean, first it's going to be chilly tomorrow morning, and then it's going to warm up, and it's going to be chilly again, and then it's going to warm up again. The severe storm watch put Victoria sort of in the marginal area right about here. Got a little bit more serious as you got to Wharton, but it was really Harris County that was under the gun for the possible tornadoes. One was reported actually hitting the ground in Cold Spring. I'm not familiar with the place, but that's where it happened. And of course, all along the coastline, you can imagine the cold air hitting the warm tropical air. That's where all the fireworks are going to happen for tomorrow. Now, temperatures for us are going to be cool. We're 55 right now, but we should get down into the 40s. Notice it's 24 in the Amarillo area. And if you're wondering, hey, where's winter? Well, ask anybody in the Dakotas. It's 14 degrees right about now. So what happens next? Well, for us, we're going to be picking up that westerly wind behind it. The storm center starts moving in that direction, becomes a big snowmaker up here, big thunderstorm builder down here. Looks like the middle coast is going to be under the gun. High pressure is going to come in for a couple of days and give us some fairly quiet, very dry weather. But the problem is, with very dry weather and gusty winds, we have fire danger, and that's what much of deep South Texas is going to be dealing with. But overall, no stormy weather to deal with until later in next weekend, okay? Overnight lows getting down to the upper 40s. Tomorrow will barely be up to 60 degrees after being almost 80 degrees today. Taking a look at Port Lavaca, down to 46 and 60 as a high temperature. We're looking for gusty winds, probably in the 25 to 35 mile an hour range. So a little breezy out there. And in Cuero, down to 44 and up to 60. Lots of sun in the afternoon hours. Now, this is very important. Roller coaster, 62, then up to 68, then 74. Dry front comes in with windy conditions, and then a quiet weekend. But right here, Monday, frigid temperatures. By Tuesday, we'll be down below freezing. We're looking for freezing weather for the next 3 days after that. So it's a week away. But if you haven't moved the plants off the patio, you better get to it now, because Mama's going to be real mad if her flowers freeze. That's your 7-day forecast. Reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that. Put Crossroads Today on your phone. Here's Cutting Now.
Thank you, Mac. And now here's sports reporter Zach Brown.
The Texans and Cowboys hosting playoff games, and arguably the greatest coach of all time could be on the move. I'll have that in sports. Well, in about 15 minutes, the college football national championship game in NRG at Houston, Texas, and it's going to feature a battle of the top two teams in the country. Got #1 Michigan and #2 Washington. That game at 6:30. Well, that's not 15 minutes. That's 5 minutes. Both teams sit at 14-0 on the year, so something's got to give, and with it being the best in the nation, this one promises to be a dogfight, and both coaches know what it's going to take.
We're going to have to play really good. We are going to have to play really good, and I think our team is ready. Still not, hay's not in the barn. We're still, it never is for us. Still polishing, still working, but super excited.
It's going to be a great game, and we know we need to be at our best. Proud of our players and our staff for the way that they've just continued to grind here going into the last couple weeks. It's been a quick turnaround going from the semifinal game and a couple flights back and forth to Seattle. But our guys have just kind of taken it all in stride and done a great job just, being in the moment.
Once again, that game at NRG Stadium. But you know what else is at NRG? How about a Houston Texans playoff game? They have won the AFC South title. Now they're going to play host to the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland demolished the Texans last time out. Obviously a much different situation because hardly anyone was healthy, including quarterback C.J. Stroud. That game will be Saturday at 3:30 p.m. The Dallas Cowboys, winners of the NFC East and the #2 seed in the NFC, they will play host to the Green Bay Packers on Sunday, of course, at AT&T Stadium. That game at 3:30 as well. The day after the NFL regular season ends is known as Black Monday, and it's a day where many coaches learn that they have been fired, and one name that is rumored to be let go is a legendary one. Bill Belichick, who has been the head coach of the Patriots since 2000, has not had much success at all since Tom Brady left, leaving many wondering where the 71-year-old will be next year.
Not the results, obviously, from any of us. Starting with me and, all the way down to everybody else that was involved in it. I know we all feel the same way. So I'm in a contract, do what I always do, which is, every day I come in, work as hard as I can to help the team.
He's the greatest coach of all time. But that's above my pay grade. I'll let those guys handle those things. If he's here, if he's not here. Of course, that's Coach Belichick and Mr. Kraft's decision. I can't really speak on that.
All right, well, it's the first time in a couple years the Texans have not participated in Black Monday. They got a great head coach over there in D'Amico Ryans. That's it for your sports. Don and Karina, back to you.
Now, when I ask this question, I'm not downplaying the Cowboys winning the NFC East. But, Zach, how about those Texans?
How about those Texans? I told them they were going to win the AFC South. I've been telling everybody for a while, and it took a little bit of a miracle with the Jags absolutely collapsing, but they did it. And, yeah, you're right. How about those Texans? They could beat anybody except maybe Baltimore, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
One game at a time, Zach. One game at a time.
Yes, sir.
All righty. Thank you, guys. We're going to be back in a moment. There was a birthday cake and proclamation today at Graceland to celebrate the late and great Elvis Presley.
Finally tonight, there was a birthday cake and a proclamation today at Graceland in Memphis to mark what would have been Elvis's 89th birthday. Crowds gathered on the lawn of Graceland Mansion for the official proclamation of Elvis Presley Day in Memphis. There was a huge birthday cake with a record on top, and there was an unveiling of the record of the song That's All Right. That was Elvis's first hit song, recorded in Memphis in 1954. Elvis lives on forever.
Have y'all seen any of the Elvis movies?
Oh,
Yeah, I bet y'all have.
How far do you go back? Blue Hawaii.
A little bit before that.
Viva Las Vegas.
Oh, GI Blues. GI
about you?
Blues.
Yeah.
Kid Creole. You know,
I missed
you know.
that one. I missed that one.
Yeah, but you're not missing the weather updates on this crazy day.
No,
of weather
I've been on it all day long, folks.
Yeah.
We've been doing bulletins and crawls and all kinds of stuff. But the good news is that most of the heavy stuff is now moving out offshore. We're looking for clearing skies and a strong dry wind coming in later tonight.
All right, thank you, Mac, and thanks for joining us.
We have to see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 10.